Hey there, and welcome into another exciting episode of A for Effort, coming to you with another quality movie review. I'm your host, Matt, and as always, we start off giving thanks to our unofficial sponsor of the podcast, MoviePass. $9.95 a month gets you one movie a day at local cinemas in your area. Check MoviePass.com for theater listings and offer availability. On today's episode, we're going to break down the sci-fi action thriller Upgrade. This movie caught me by surprise because I knew nothing about it until about a month ago. I saw a trailer before seeing Rampage, and I was intrigued and was ready to see what this movie was all about. Came out a few weeks ago and I hadn't had a chance to get to it yet. It is a busy summer movie season, but I was glad I got to get to it today, and I was impressed. This movie was directed by Leigh Whannell, who has been writing movies with his writing partner James Wan since Saw, all the way back in 2001. This is his second movie. He also directed Insidious 3. This movie, to me, was something more than just a horror movie. It was an awesome sci-fi thriller that centers around a futuristic world where our cars, our bodies, everything, our homes are centered around artificial intelligence. And our houses are controlled by them, our cars are controlled by them, and even parts of our body are. We meet our main character, played by Logan Marshall-Greene, who is a guy who living in the old world, doesn't want any of this stuff, doesn't want technology in him, doesn't want it in his house, refuses to drive one of these fancy new cars. He's big on the old school. You see him building a Model T when we first opened the movie, but his wife works for a company called Cobalt, and they help with military prosthesis. So when someone gets injured in war, they come back, they get them a prosthesis. And it centers around the AI that helps them move these body parts. So the movie picks up them going to drop a car off that he had just rebuilt for a gentleman that works for the competing company, Vessel. And as they're on their way home, their car goes AWOL and drives them into the middle of nowhere where they are mugged and robbed, and she gets killed, and he gets paralyzed from the neck down. The movie picks up 3 months later when he is trying to adjust to life as a quadriplegic, and the head of Vessel, played by Harrison Gilbertson, comes to see him and offers him this technology known as STEM. It connects the spinal cord back to the brain stem and allows him to walk again. But what he doesn't know is that there's an artificial intelligence built into this machine that starts talking to him after it's installed. He then starts using this technology to go around trying to hunt down the men that killed his wife. I really loved the sci-fi element of this movie. It really felt like a Black Mirror or Twilight Zone episode. I was in love with Black Mirror, and this is just one of those episodes that I could see being a Black Mirror episode. It was absolutely amazing. Great action, great amounts of sci-fi, not a lot of gore. It had some, but it wasn't overly gory for no reason. I love a good AI story. I'm loving Westworld right now, which is all about artificial intelligence. Black Mirror centers around a lot of artificial intelligence. Any story that Terminator, any of these stories that center around that are good to me as long as the plot is significant with the artificial intelligence. As long as the plot is good and it doesn't get too wonky and too out there, I'm all for it. I really had a great time watching this movie. It wasn't a long runtime, hour 35 minutes, and it was a breeze. It never slowed down. It kept going all the way to the twist at the end. And the twist kind of threw me for a loop because you could kind of see where the twist was going, but then when it finally happened, it took me by surprise because I had my assumptions on where the twist would go, but it wasn't until the twist actually happened that I was like, oh wow, I didn't see that coming. And it was a great movie. I really did enjoy Logan Marshall-Greene. I always describe him to my wife as the poor man's Tom Hardy because they look identical, but he was great in this. You can, like, from the moment the movie opens, you see him, he's acting normal, he's loving his wife, he's got a solid life, but then I liked how his movements changed towards the middle of the movie when he became more AI than human, and I liked that. I liked that subtlety in his movement that changed throughout the movie. The twist is something that it's hard not to spoil because there are things I want to talk about that surround the twist. So this is going to be spoilers from this moment. I want to talk about the twist. So spoiler alert, 3, 2, 1. The twist is that STEM is behind all of this. When he finally figures out at the end of the movie that the head of Vessel, Aaron, set him up, wanted him to get into that car accident and get mugged so that he could become the guinea pig for STEM, and he ends up at Aaron's house. I'm like, well, you kind of saw that coming. But it turns out that it wasn't Aaron, it was STEM who set everything up. And so my question that I never really got answered following the movie was, did Aaron have STEM in him, or was STEM just an artificial intelligence that made Aaron build this little chip so that he could be given a body? The whole point of the movie was that STEM wanted to evolve and become human, but he needed a body that had absolutely no AI in it, no brain chips, no telephone chips, nothing in it, so that it could overtake his body. And one of the features that Aaron had built in was user control, meaning that Logan Marshall-Greene could control STEM. But as the movie progressed, Logan Marshall-Greene was becoming intent on stopping all the dudes that had killed his wife, so STEM convinces him to get a hacker to turn off the user controls. And this is where the twist opens up, that he did all of this so that he could take over his body. And it leads to a great finale, and I was absolutely blown away because the movie ends with STEM taking over his body, and that's where it ends. There's no resolution, there's no happy ending. STEM walks out of the room having killed our cop, played by Betty Gabriel, who has been trailing Logan Marshall-Greene the entire movie, trying to figure out, because he has to tell people he's still in the wheelchair even though he can walk, and she keeps seeing him on these cameras in the wheelchair around the scenes of the crime as all these bad guys are dying, and she can't figure it out until one day she just happens to go in his house, and his mom tells her what had happened to him. And so she ends up at Aaron from Vessel's house, and so she ends up dying, Aaron from Vessel ends up dying, and what ends up happening to Gray, who is Logan Marshall-Greene's character, is that he fought so hard to stop STEM from taking over that STEM broke his brain, so to speak, and trapped him inside his own mind so that he could control his body. And it was perfect ending. I didn't see it coming. At different points, there's little subtle hints, like when he gets to the hacker's house, she's got all these people inside virtual reality, and she says to him, their world is better than ours. And STEM repeats that line to him, to the cop, as he's about to kill her. She says, what happened to Gray? And he says, his world is better than ours. He's in a happy place now. And you see him back with his wife, and it's him waking up after the car crash, and she says, we were in an accident last night, you've been out for a few days, don't worry, we're all okay. And he wakes up and he's happy, he's in a better place, he's stuck inside his own mind, and STEM is out controlling his body. And it was just a wonderful, wonderful ending to this movie. And I like movies like that don't have to have a positive ending. It's just a great sci-fi thriller that really kept me guessing on how it was going to end. There was a crazy action sequence when STEM and Gray first get together. They find one guy via a tattoo, and they go out and they find him, and Gray's getting his ass whooped, and STEM says to him, would you like me to take over? And STEM takes over and starts whooping his ass, and actually takes a kitchen knife, puts it in his mouth, and just cuts his jaw off. And it was freaking gruesome, but it was a cool scene. Like I said, the gore wasn't overly over the top. It was just enough, and I was okay with that. I give this an A+. I really did enjoy it. Go out, see this one. It's gotten great reviews, 87% on Rotten Tomatoes right now, an A- from CinemaScore, and it gets an A+ from me. I really did enjoy this movie. Get out, see it. I really, really, really enjoyed this one. A+. And the last thing I want to talk about is Blumhouse. Blumhouse is silently killing it. The big three, Disney, Warner Brothers, and Universal, are putting out blockbusters year in, year out. But Blumhouse seems to be this one company that comes out with smaller films every year, low-budget films, and really crush it. Last year they had Get Out. They've had some great horror movies in the Insidious franchise. They have really been killing it. And moving forward, they have a Halloween movie coming out, which is a sequel. They have a Spawn movie coming out, which is a reboot. I'm excited to see what Blumhouse and their sister Blumhouse Tilt have in store for us. This is a great thing when smaller budgeted movies as well as smaller budget companies can stand up to these big monsters in Disney, Warner Brothers, and Universal. Movies like this go under the radar because we have such movies as Oceans and Avengers and Solo and Deadpool that just oversaturate the television with trailers and get your money. These are the type of movies that fly under the radar and end up being amazing films in the end. So if I could say anything about it, is go out, support these smaller movies, because these are the ones that get the chance to be in the theater because of people like me and because of people that have the movie pass that get out and go see multiple movies a week. This is a great movie. If you are into Black Mirror or Twilight Zone or great sci-fi, AI stories, get out and go see it. It's worth your dime to get out and go see this one while it's still in the theaters. It was a great action AI sci-fi story. And with that, I've been your host, Matt. Check out all the rest of my reviews on our YouTube channel. Like, subscribe, share, comment. Come back to us next time on another episode of A for Effort and another quality movie review.